Production Lightweight, sponsored by L&P Graphics Works, and Pre-1940, sponsored by Norton Manx Racing. You folks are up right now. If you want to bring them on up, we'll send you out for your hot lap. Once again, it is third and final call for race number 1, CB160, Novice Historic Production Lightweight, and Pre-1940. Bring them on up, folks. The track is now yours. Again, it is third and final call for race number 1.
Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to day 2 here at beautiful Daytona International Speedway. I'm Jackie Van Ham with Mr. Jay McMacken here in the booth. We're getting ready for another exciting day of racing here. It is absolutely beautiful, Jay. Oh my God, just gorgeous weather, 78 degrees, big sunshine, no clouds. It's going to be a great day of racing. If you are just now tuning in and you're not familiar, this is day 2 of an AHRMA Classic Moto Fest here at Daytona International Speedway. One of 4 Moto Fests happening this year in 2022. There's this event, obviously, here today. No better way to start off the new year than here in beautiful Daytona with some awesome racing. We're also going to have an event in the spring in Topeka, Kansas at Heartland. There's another event later in the spring at Laguna Seca. And our 4th and final Moto Fest Classic is going to be at Barber in October for part of Barber Vintage Festival, which is always, all 4 of those events are going to be awesome. So we're just getting started. First race of the day is going to be CB160.
Production Lightweight and Pre-1940. Third call for race number 1. Sorry.
So no. I want them to hear it in the broadcast. So that's why I was trying to dial back and let you have it. So the first race for today is going to be the CB160 class. CB160 is an exhibition race on those vintage CB160s, and it is a Le Mans type start, which is where the racers are across the track from somebody holding the bike. They have to run across the track, dripping sweat, 78-degree weather out here in leathers, a little bit of a fitness quest before they go racing, and then they go ahead and push, and bump start those bikes, and off they go. So it's always a fan favorite. It's always really exciting. So that's what's happening first race. There's also production lightweight, I believe, in this. Yeah, historical production lightweight, and Pre-1940 is in this as well. So that is our first race of the day. I heard Jay just do third call, which means they're headed to the grid and heading on out shortly. As always, thanks for clicking, liking, and sharing all of our videos. I appreciate you guys. We are way up here in the tower. We are hundreds and hundreds of feet away from the action. Daytona is huge if you've never been here. So I'm trying to do my best to bring you some good shots, good angles, and good views of the racing. And let's get down to it. Thanks, guys.
As the riders take to the track, here's how they're going to grid up out there. On row number 1, 784, Christopher Caden. Row number 2, 022, Cindy McLean. Row number 3, it's X42, Jonathan Hollingsworth. Row number 4, it's 820, Mitchell Barnes. Row number 5, it's 49L, Lex Robb. Row number 6, it's bike number 13K, Rod Skaggs. Row number 7, it's going to be bike number 842, Tom Sanders. And row number 8, it's 123, Jonas Stein. That's the field here for the CB160 race. The CB160 race is sponsored by N3 Racing. It's an exhibition class open to 1960 Honda's 164-stroke twins. These class runs a fewer laps than normal as the non-exhibition races. We use the unique Le Mans style start, which is popular with both riders and fans, and machines range from lightly modified to full-blown racers. Riders must also enter the 200 Grand Prix class to be class eligible for the CB160 competition. Moving on to the Novice Historic Production Lightweight Grid, sponsored by L&P Graphics Works. Out there on row number 10, it is going to be bike number 7S, Mitch Skaggs, bike number 077, Kristen Boustard, bike number 10, Mike Kirby, and bike number 777, Robert Himmelman. Then on row number 11, it's 915, Craig Martin, 76U, Luke Sayer, and 024, Matthew Rice. For the Novice Historic Production Lightweight, sponsored by Louisville Motorcycle Performance and Graphics Works, LMP shop specializes in vintage restoration, race motor prep, vapor honing, and reclaiming vintage brakes. If you want to stop, come see them. Gemco is a 40-year-old company specializing in custom handmade vintage racing exhausts. They can produce over 40 models of exhausts for road racing, flat track, motocross, and off-road. They're taking exhaust orders at their rig, and they can transport vapor hone jobs to other race sites. The class itself is for 1978 and earlier street machines in very close to standard production trim. Minimal modifications makes this an inexpensive entry-level class, and it is intended for novice-level riders only. The lightweight class is for 4 strokes up to 500 cc's, and 252 strokes and certain 352 strokes are also allowed out there. For the pre-1940s, sponsored by Norton Manx Racing, on this field is row number 13, 122 Alex McLean, 81 Ralph Wessel, 98 Y Doug Young, and 35 Doc Batsleer. And then row number 14, it's 01 Henry Nelson, 27 Bino Rodi, and bike number 96X Joseph Miller. The pre-1940 Grand Prix class is sponsored by Norton Manx Racing and Rob McKeever. Bob McKeever, also known as Champagne Bob, raced in Daytona in 1948 and was heavily involved in vintage racing for many years. Sadly, he passed away in January of 2017 at the age of 97. Bob founded Champagne Bob Racing, which has evolved into Norton Manx Racing and carries on Bob's passion. Bob's son, Rob McKeever, is the team's manager and continues the race program. The Norton Manx Racing racers are Alex McLean and his wife, Cindy. This class is intended for 1940 and earlier GP and modified street machines up to and including a 500cc overhead valve and overhead cam engine configurations or 750cc side valve machines. Like design models are also permitted. All major components must be OEM parts that existed prior to 1941 or are accurate, detailed replicas of the same parts using the same materials and technology. That's your field here for race number 1, the vintage, the CB160 race, novice historic production lightweight and pre-1940 class. Not sure if race monitor's running.
All right, let's go check on race monitor real quick.
It's not running for me.
I'm not seeing us posted over there. Yeah, gang, for those of you following along at home, thanks again for tuning in. We appreciate you no matter where you're watching on the AHRMA Facebook page or out there on the YouTubes. We appreciate you checking out our race coverage for today. We also we use the scoring system. There's a couple different apps you can use, but we use race-monitor.com. So if you want more super detailed information, lap times and all that kind of stuff, you can track that down over there. I do grab those details and throw them up on this screen as we get rocking and rolling and deeper into the races. But if you're really into those kind of specs, you can click on over there and check it out. Again, that's race-monitor.com. How many bikes are on the CB160 grid, Jay? Do you know off the top of your head?
Looks like 8. Kind of a small field, unfortunately, being the first race of the season. We'll get up to 20 to 25 riders at different classic events.
You're not wrong. The CB160 class normally is huge, but I wonder if this track with the high banks it just doesn't make sense. You know, is it too difficult to come here and possibly hand grenade a little CB160 out there? Is that just too sketchy this early in the season when you maybe just got done rebuilding it?
Might be.
To be fair, we did just wrap up our last big festival of the season in October, which was just a hot second ago. So folks very well might still just be working on their bikes.
As the green flag waves, the riders sprint across the track, jump on their bikes, give them a shove, pop them into gear, and away they go. As it looks like our 3 entries take off down the hot pit lane, down into turn number 1 to start their race. Looking back up here, waiting for the second wave to go after the CB160s clear turn number 1. We'll send them off. That'll be the novice historic production lightweight field and the pre-1940s. And looks like Mitch Skaggs on bike number 7S gets the jump on the field for the novice historic production lightweight, leading those folks down into turn number 1 themselves.
I was just thinking about that to myself when I was at home. I was like, man, there's been barely, it's been barely 2 months.
Yeah. It's
so
just a little over 3 actually, October, November, December, January. 3
yeah,
months.
if you had a full teardown going. There we go. Everybody's starting to head into the International Horseshoe. We saw a lot of hot action over there yesterday. Folks like to run a little bit wide over there. It's pretty tempting to do so, but I think it's a little tighter than people anticipate.
We've seen several lines through that turn.
I've seen some off-road lines through that turn. It was real interesting.
CB160 riders getting a great start, all the way working their way out of turn number 5, the West Horseshoe, down into turn number 6. Meanwhile, the novice historic production lightweight group And the pre-1940s, they've all sorted themselves out single file as they work through the dog leg down into turn number 5 themselves. Waiting for them to come around here in just a moment to complete lap number 1, and we'll get the full running order at that time.
Cindy McLean should be out on this grid because she had a heck of a day yesterday here. Very, very fast.
I'm listening. What you need?
And they're just now making their way onto
Yeah.
the high banks. You can see that at the
I'm at
top
1.
right-hand side of your screen. That would be in for the NASCAR folks turns 1 and 2 on that high bank. 31-degree bank over there.
Copy that. I'll put that out there.
And in case you're wondering, you can hear the radios and things up here to all of our viewers at home. This is a little bit of your behind-the-scenes race footage.
Announced the timing and scoring.
Because we are up here actually working and doing the stuff, so you'll hear a little bit of background sounds as well.
That's kind of what I thought. Thank you.
Is race monitor down?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what it is.
Not quite up yet. So we'll click over there. It'll be up in just a minute, I'm sure.
Attention out there in the paddock. We've got a clipboard that kind of went missing down in the garage area somewhere. So if you happen to have a clipboard hanging around down there or see one sitting around with a bunch of notes on it, if you could please bring that back over to tech, we would greatly appreciate that. Again, we have a clipboard that went missing down in the garage area. So if you happen to have a clipboard hanging around down there, you don't know who the owner is to it, and it's got a bunch of notes on it, if you could take it back over to tech, we would greatly appreciate it. Again, looking for a missing clipboard down there in the garage area. If you happen to spot one that's unattended and you don't know where it came from and it's got a bunch of notes on it, if you could please bring it back to tech, we'd appreciate it. Thank you. Also, for those of you who may be watching out there on your phones or your wireless devices, yes, Race Monitor is not working yet at the moment. We are working on to get that fired up here, but if you're wondering what's going on with Race Monitor, it's giving us a little bit of problems this morning. We'll get that straightened out here shortly.
All right. I can tell by the sound of those bikes, that's some pre-1940 bikes going across start finish. It sure sounded like.
Yeah.
Let's go see where they're at, making their way into that very first opening turn. And then headed towards the horseshoe here in just a second. Here we go in the middle part of the track. Oof. 78 degrees out there today. Jay and I are up here in this all glass sealed room.
I'm wearing a black
Not gonna lie, it's a little warm.
Yeah, a little melting.
And being
Out on the racetrack, looks like the novice historic production lightweight bikes have reeled in the CB160 field, starting to mix it up with them as that group works their way out onto the high banking of turns 1 and 2. 31-degree banking here at the Daytona International Speedway. It looks like the CB160 bikes take the little bit of the lower line, while the faster novice historic production lightweights run a little bit higher line through the center of turns NASCAR 1 and 2, off of the turn 2 ramp and down the back straightaway they go.
Hey, thanks, Darren. He says Speed Hive in my laps is working.
Okay.
Thanks for jumping on the feed and letting us know. I appreciate you guys when you guys want to jump in and give me any info or, little comments like that. I super appreciate it. It's always helpful. All right, we've got our first. Saw some folks making their ways down what would be NASCAR turn 3 and 4. The second set of high banks, they're coming around right now. They're at the very top left of your screen.
Out front, it's bike number 7S, Mitch Skaggs, with 077 Kristen Bouster right there behind him within striking distance, as about 10 to 12 bike lengths separate those two as they rocket down into turn number 1.
Darren, I'm all ears, buddy. Give me all the dirt.
Then we got a third place rider, couldn't quite get the number on that one for the novice historic production lightweight. Then our two CB160 riders, they're pretty much glued nose to tail, about 2-3 bike lengths separate those two, trying to get their numbers. We'll take a look at next time around. We're still trying to get Race Monitor up and going as the laps continue to click down in this 4-lap race. Yeah, I've never used my laps before. I'm trying to get it going.
We've got the rest of the grid starting to make their way across this finish line. Starting to finish on opposite sides of the track here at Daytona International Speedway. In case I haven't mentioned it before, this place is ginormous, I think is the technical word for it. And they have the start line on the inside and the finish line is on the outside of the oval. So they're located in two different spots. FYI. This track built in 1959 initially. Race promoter Bill France saw the writing on the wall that they were running out of room over on the beaches, and they knew he needed a dedicated home for racing, and built this back in 1959. But there's been racing going on the beaches here since the 1900s, early 1900s. And they actually used to hold land speed record racing here as well.
Oh yeah, back in the day.
Way back in the day. They switched to Bonneville like around the 1930s, if I remember correctly. Now let's see what's going on over here. All right, we've got a pair of riders making their way, following a trail, a group of riders up on the high banks, turns 1 and 2 on the outside oval. It is at the top right of your screen.
Race leader should be coming out of
This looks like them.
NASCAR 4.
All right, this looks like our race leader, somebody coming off track.
Bousterd up front, Skaggs running
Oh,
second.
good for you.
So Kristen's up to the lead.
And white flag is out last lap for our race leaders. Jay McMacken holding down the calls up here, bringing binoculars.
Yeah,
Super
kicking
smart.
old school.
Super smart. He said it looked like Kristen Boustert was in 1.
915's third. Craig Martin. I still couldn't get him. I think McLean's out front, and Christopher Caden's running second.
Oh, wow. Good for Cindy.
White flag out on this race. Let's go first call. First call for race number 2. Vintage Superbike Heavyweight, Next Gen Superbike Middleweight Thruxton Cup Challenge, and the Bears race. You folks will be up in just a moment. It is first call. First call for race number 2. Vintage Superbike Heavyweight, Next Gen Superbike Middleweight Thruxton Cup and Bears. You folks will be up in just a moment. It is first call for race number 2. Out on the track that last lap, 077, Kristen Boustert was leading 7S Mitch Skaggs by just a little. Then 915, Craig Martin back there in that third place for the Novice Production Historic Lightweight. Looks like for the CB160, as I couldn't quite tell from here, the binoculars were a little hard to read, but I think it was 022, Cindy McLean in front of 784, Christopher Caden that last lap, but those two were pretty much nose to tail, so we're going to see how the draft's going to work here down that front straightaway the next time by when they come around through the tri-oval to take the checkered flag. Meanwhile, again, a race shaping up between Boustert and Skaggs as those two were pretty much glued together out there on that last lap. We'll see how it's going to come out here in just a moment when they come around to see the checkered flag.
We've got a handful of folks making their way through the International Horseshoe now. Let's go see what's going on over on the high banks.
Here they come. And it's Boussard out front. At the line to take the unofficial win, looks like it's 077. Kristen Boussard getting the better of the battle with bike number 7S, Mitch Skaggs. Then looking back up towards turn number 4, NASCAR turn number 4, out onto the front straightaway. We got one rider coming down the line, but this will be a lapped rider. Should be 9:15. Craig Martin, the next bike by. As here he comes out of NASCAR's turn 4 down that long front straightaway into the tri-oval to take the checkered flag for the unofficial third in class. Then it's going to be the CB 160 riders.
All right.
And I believe it is Christopher Caden managing to draft past 022 Cindy McLean, who once again, pretty hard to tell from this distance as they take the unofficial checker to first and second themselves in class.
Yeah, still not seeing race monitor, so.
Tension out in the paddock. Let's go second call. Second call for race number 2. Vintage Superbike Heavyweight, Next Gen Superbike Middleweight, Thruxton Cup and Bears. Second call, race number 2, second call. Tension control to announce.
Go ahead.
I got a back-to-back in this one.
Did you see him out there?
I don't have race monitor, so I can't tell.
I did not see his number out there.
Copy that.
Yeah, X-ray 42.
Okay, all right.
I did not see him go out. But incoming bike down here. Copy. 510. Copy 10.
Mr. Darren Govan jumping on the feed, giving me a little background information. Darren was one of our registered racers from Southern California who unfortunately could not make it. So welcome to the program. Lots of information in the comment section. Appreciate it. But thanks for tuning in, everybody. Rusty Schaefer, Lori Salinas, Marge Stuyvesant, thank you for tuning in. Bobby Sorrow, Joe Novella, welcome. Mike Nance. Dutch Stuyvesant, aren't you racing today, Dutch? J. Frankie Loney.
Attention
Carla
out to the
Keneally.
paddock. Let's go third call. Third and final call for race number 2.
George
Vintage
Denser,
Superbike
what's up,
Heavyweight,
buddy?
Next
Welcome to
Gen
the show.
Superbike Middleweight, Thruxton Cup and Bears. You folks are up right now if you want to bring them on up. Again, it is third call. Third and final call, race number 2. Vintage Superbike Heavyweight, Next Gen Superbike Middleweight, Thruxton Cup and Bears. Third call, third and final call for race number 2.
All right, let's go ahead and get these graphics going for the next.
It looks like for my laps, I've never used it before, and it looks like you got to have a subscription for it.
Yeah, it's an app-driven one, I think.
Yeah, it's sorry guys. We got the race monitor up and going.
Okay, so next race, race number 2 for today is going to be Vintage Superbike Heavyweight, Next Gen Superbike Middleweight.
As the riders get ready to take to the track, here's how they're going to line up out here. For the Vintage Superbike Heavyweight, sponsored by Tim CBX and CBX International Owners Club. On row number 1, it's going to be 045 Curtis Adams, 422 John Litzy, 202 Robert Ringalda, and 118 William Brent. Then row number 2, it's 1P Jeremy Madrill, 17R Rian Mondrian, and bike number 162 Alan Perry. Row number 3, it's 237 Matt Esterline, W13 Warren Wilson, X72 Edward Barna, and 179 Arthur Cowitz. Row number 4, it's 90D Darren Govan, 142 George Hernandez, and 6B William Garman. For the Vintage Superbike Heavyweight, this is sponsored by Tim CBX and the International CBX Owners Association. Tim CBX is an independent shop that specializes in Honda CBX 6-cylinder machines. They sell parts and offer services for the CBX only. They offer hundreds of OEM and custom parts to keep the Honda CBX on the road, and of course they race one in Vintage Superbike Heavyweight. The International Owners CBX, or rather the International CBX Owners Association, is the oldest Honda CBX club, and it's noteworthy that it's the single model motorcycle club. The Honda CBX six-cylinder motorcycle was only produced for 4 years and still has a very popular following. For the class itself, a variety of machines up through the 1980 Model 2 year based on showroom stock bikes are out there. Race prep 4-cylinder Japanese bikes in the 900 to 1000 cc range can be found, along with unlimited displacement pushrod triples such as Triumph Trident and the BSA Rocket 3. Also, unlimited displacement twins qualify. You can find BMW, Moto Guzzi, and Harley Davidsons out there, and even the 6-cylinder Honda CBX can be seen in this class. The next gen Superbike medium weight field, presented by Moto Madcap, is out there. They're on row number 6. It's X42 Jonathan Hollingsworth, 447 Peter Nicolosi, 700 Cameron Crockett, 15G Sean Gilmore. In row number 7, it's 936 Kurt Hoff, 36T John Tunstall, and 37A John Ashmead. And in row number 8, it's 204 Rick Patriolia. For the next gen Superbike middleweight, sponsored by Moto Madcap. This middleweight class showcases what was raced in the late 80s through the early 90s. It's limited to production, the period modifications. Some of the eligible machines that you'll see out there are the Ducati Passo, the 750 Sport, and the 750 SS. Also, you might see a Honda CBR 600F and F2, and even an NS 400R out there. Kawasaki brings to the table the GPZ 600 through the CX 600 E2s. You'll also see Moto Guzzi Le Mans 850s out there. Suzuki GSXR 600 and GSX 600s are eligible, as are the RG 500s and RG 400s, and Yamaha FZR 600s or FZR 400s with the FZR 600 engine are found, as are the Yamaha RZ 350s. For the Thruxton Cup Challenge, presented by NOLA Riding Academy, on row number 10, it's going to be 1A, Clint Austin, 09, Eugene Casario. Bike number 51, Nathan Guy, and 76X, Patrick McGraw. Row number 11, it's 69B, Matthew Estelle, 593, Dustin Fortich, and 851, Sean Guy. Row number 12, it's 099, Dutch Vandenberg Jr., 69A, Carl Estelle, 044, Jonathan Devine, and 129, Chris Kasbarian. Row number 13, it's 553, Paul Canali, and 55C, Edward Blunt. For the Thruxton Cup Challenge, again sponsored by NOLA Racing Academy and Clint Austin. Clint is the owner of NOLA Riding Academy and won the Thruxton Cup Challenge in 2019 and 2020. His other accomplishments in 2020 also include winning the Sound of Singles 1 field, or Sound of Thunder field, rather, Sound of Thunder 2, and Battle of the Twins 2 national championships. When not racing, Clint can be found teaching new riders to ride on both 2- and 3-wheeled motorcycles in New Orleans and Gulfport, Mississippi. You may also find him wrenching and selling used motorcycles. Additionally, they are an authorized AHRMA helmet dealer, so if you're in need of a new AHRMA, tell Clint you're an AHRMA member to see what kind of a discount he can give you. The field itself is open to lightly modified Triumph Thruxtons and Harley Davidson Sportsters. Thruxtons are limited to air-cooled 865cc twins produced up through 2015. And for the Bears class, presented by N3 Racing, back on row number 15, we find the rides of bike number 1S, Daniel May, 9A, Rob Hall, 731, Stan Keys, and 995, Patrick Hansen. The Bears field, also known as the British European American Racing Series, is sponsored by N3 Racing. The field out there is 2-cylinder pushrod machines built up through 1968, competing under Formula 750 specifications. Must be representative of race bikes of the era with fairings and lower clip-on style handlebars. Brands typically represented include BSA, BMW, Harley Davidson, Moto Guzzi, and Triumph. That is your field here for race number 2, the Vintage Superbike Heavyweight, Next Gen Middleweight, and Thruxton Cup Challenge, and the Bears Race.
This Vintage Superbike Heavyweight, by the way, is its featured Vintage Cup class, is our featured Vintage Cup class for 2022. So really very cool to have this race be here, because the term Superbike
looks like 020 Jeff Nelson gets the jump on the field out there for
used
the
in Daytona in 1976. So it's very fitting that we're back here again.
Looks like it might have been Kevin Dinsmore, 304, getting the jump for the Formula, or the, rather, I'm sorry, wrong field. Looks like X42 Jonathan Hollingsworth or 447 Peter Nicolosi. Couldn't tell from here which one of those two got the better of the jump in there on that second wave. And then for the third wave, everybody thundering away down that front straightaway towards turn number 1. We'll try to get the full running order here for you in just a moment. Still working with Race Monitor, trying to get it up and going. Okay, we're just going to have to kick this old school. Looks like the vintage Superbike heavyweight field working their way out of turn number 6 onto the high banks of Daytona down in a NASCAR turns 1 and 2. One rider breakaway out front. Battle shaping up for 2 bikes working the draft on each other. Both of them running the high line through the exit of 1 over to the 2 on the 31-degree banking as the field gets rocketing around the banks over there in NASCAR turns number 2 down that back straightaway. Again, lone bike out front. A good quarter of a front or back straightaway between him and this battle shaping up for second as everybody dives into the braking zone and accordions back up into the bus stop. Now through the chicane and back out on the banks for turns number 3 and 4 for the NASCAR track.
That was number 37, but he started way behind where he was supposed to. For some reason, he can't grab.
All right, and our race leaders are making their way down Daytona turn 3 and 4 on the outside oval on the high banks over there. So let's go ahead and check them out.
But yeah, but even though he pulled up a couple of rows, he was still way behind.
Looks like bike number 045, Curtis Adams, was the fast leader running out front on that one. Couldn't quite get the second place riders as they came around, but definitely a battle shaping up for second as they are back according nose to tail as one rider gets a little wide into the International Horseshoe. So it looks like spread out now as one rider, I'm not sure, looks like he is retiring early. Was that 202?
We've got quite a little pack going through these last kind of horseshoes over here.
What, the West Horseshoe?
Yeah,
down
the
there?
West Horseshoe heading towards the high banks. Great big cluster, folks. If you're watching at home, you can see it on the right-hand side of your screen.
FYI, that guy, 37, has the most laps around 200 than anybody else. Yeah, we were discussing it. He still tagged Brad.
Oh yeah, thanks for the note. Dick Burdick, 1989 Daytona 200 winner, is racing with us today. His last name is Ashmead.
Yeah, I saw him. I thought
So very cool.
I thought John had quite a few laps.
Very cool.
17R.
I just tried to look up on Speed Hive, but I'm not seeing it, guys.
Looks like 045 Curtis Adams is unofficially out front with, I believe it's 17R Rian Mondrian and bike number 1P Jeremy Madrill. I think those guys are running second and third as everybody is still kind of spread out there, and we're still trying to get Race Monitor to come back online as the field spread out. I want to remind everybody at the conclusion of this race, we will be officially at lunch break. We're supposed to take lunch break at 11, but we're going to be running a little late. So about 15 minutes after we start lunch break, want to remind everybody there'll be a chapel service down in the registration building. So again, about 15 minutes after the conclusion of this race, when we start to lunch, there will be a chapel
look at this
service
battle.
down in registration if you want to attend that.
Look at them
Also
all
want
go.
to remind everybody that if you've got empty race fuel cans, you can take them over to garage number 27 for recycling. I know a lot of people always seem to run into problems with how to get rid of your old used race fuel cans. Well, garage 27 is where you can drop them off. Also want to let you know that after we've completed race number 1, the trophies from yesterday should be available for pickup down in the tech area. Again, if you didn't pick up your trophy yesterday, if you did a second or a third from yesterday, or even first, and weren't available, if you want to move your way on down to tech, they should have the trophies available from yesterday's races in tech.
Speed close. I'm at the start, ma'am. I have a card. I can get anywhere quick.
All right, halfway flags are out from our flag man, so we are halfway through this race. Is this a 6-lap?
Yeah.
6-lap race?
Let's just talk after I let them see.
Halfway flags out for your race leader, letting them know they've got 3 done and 3 left to go, as everybody's spread out pretty well here as some of the bikes working their way on the high banking, taking a high line out through NASCAR's turn 2 and 3, as the race leader should be working past some of the slower traffic out there, out down through turn exit 2, down the back straightaway one more time. Lost my race leader. I can't find him.
Alrighty, I did track you down on Speed Hive. Thanks, Darren. I appreciate it.
No kidding.
Got it?
Yeah. Out front looks like bike number 69E, Matthew Estelle, leading this one. It's 0:46. Curtis Adams back there in second as they rocket across the start-finish line one more time. Then it looks like it's going to be bike number 118, William Brent, rounding out that third place position, and bike number 422, John Litzy, back there in fourth. No, Matt Estelle still, this is not right. Sure this isn't from yesterday, or is this live?
This is right now.
Okay, well, Matt Estelle still got problems because he did the same thing yesterday.
Don't wait, next time.
Actually, I was still looking at an issue with Matt Estelle as 0:45. Curtis Adams still leading on this one. See how he's got 6 laps and everybody else has got 4? He did the same thing yesterday. His thing, for some reason, it like doubles the laps. He had had 9 laps yesterday, so
Maybe
I just learned to forget about him. Everything else should be right. Let me see what we got going on.
Yeah, I think it's.
Yeah. Back there, rounding out your top 5, it's X42 Jonathan Hollingsworth with 1P Jeremy Madrill back in 6th, 182 Alan Perry there in 7th, 17F Rian Mondrian back in 8th, 9A Rob Hall in 9th, and 37A John Ashmead rounding out your top 10 as 045 Curtis Adams still showing the fast way around the track. Looks like the starter has the white flag in hand for the next time by on that leader, 045 Curtis Adams. Is he feeding this to us through his laps, or through his feed?
No, it's not the one that we.
His final lap, he's got well over a front straightaway lead over the battle for second place, which should be 118 William Brenner, 422 John Lindsay, waiting for them to come back into view. As looks like here they come off of the high banks on turn number 4 down that front straightaway. Now here, if you watch it, you'll see over here lap 4 and 5 will pop up. Yep. At that time, 422, John Litzy getting the better of his battle with Brent, so moved John Litzy up onto that second step of the podium with bike number 118, William Brent, right back there in third as they start their final lap out here. Next across the line, it's X42, Jonathan Hollingsworth, and 1P, Jeremy Madrill, rounding out your top 5. Bike number 17F, Rian Mondrian, back there rounding in that 6th place position with 162. Alan Perry back in 7th. So those two switched positions themselves. Then it looks like it's going to be next rider across the line is 69E, Matthew Estelle. We got his transponder issue figured out with him, so he's running 8th overall. Then it's going to be 37A, John Ashmead back there running 9th.
Got a little pack coming across the line right now. Look at this race.
Then it looks like it's going to be Rob Hall, Clint Austin, and Paul Canale all having a heck of a battle with 593 Dustin Fortich right there. 1S Daniel May in the mix. 5C Sean Gilmore back there in 15th. W1 Warren Wilson in that 16th position. 76X Patrick McGraw back there in 17th. Looks like 09 Eugene Casario back in that 18th position overall. Then it's going to be bike number 099 Dutch Vandenberg in that 19th position as the checkered flag now waving out here for your unofficial race winner, 045 Curtis Adams. Then it's going to be bike number, let's see if Litzy's going to get the better of his battle with Brent, is waiting for them to work their way over through the high banks at Daytona, over through turns number 3 and into 4. Had to go around his lower back marker. Here they come down that front straightaway trying to pick up the draft. It doesn't look like it's going to work. I believe it's going to be Litzy out front, but at the line, it is going to be no. William Brent managed to get back up and put himself on the second step of the podium over 422 John Litzy. Those guys had a heck of a battle out there as they take the checkered flag here in race number 2. Want to remind everybody, as soon as we get the track cleared here today, we are going to be officially at lunch break, so keep that in mind. We'll do a non-denominational chapel service here, looking like it's probably going to be, I would guess, sometime around 11:25 to 11:30. By the time we get the track cleared, we're going to try and get that going about 15 minutes or so after the start of the session, and it's still going to take us a while to clear the track itself of these riders. Thank you. We'll start here.
Alrighty, as this race is winding down, we've just got these 2 first races for the morning. We are going to be taking our lunch break in just one moment. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you guys. We're up here in the booth. Jackie Van Ham, Jay McMacken up here working hard for you. In case you are wondering what's going on, we're always chatting with each other. Yeah, because we're working. We're trying to figure out this technology thing, this issue that we're having. So I'm trying to find Speed Hive, get the numbers, get you the information, get everybody out in the paddock the information. You know, it's a little bit of a behind the scenes situation here. The cameras and microphones pick up everything that we're doing in here, including the on-track action as well. So that's what we're doing here with these live feeds. But I do appreciate you guys tuning in. I appreciate Mr. Darren, the MVP for the morning, jumping in and helping me out with some links and things that I needed. And thank you for chiming in. I appreciate you very much. So we're going to be taking a break for about an hour. We'll be back at around 12:15. Mr. J says at 12:15. And we'll see you guys on the flip side, where we'll be hosting races 3 through 13. We've got a full action-packed afternoon coming your way, so make sure you come on back.
So that was Speed Hive, eh?